Welcome to Blue Collar Sports Talk. Let's talk sports. Hey, everybody. Welcome to May 21st edition of, you guessed it, Blue Collar Sports Talk. Daryl here sitting with you, and I'm going to talk all NBA. So if this isn't your game, hit the bricks, kid. No, I'm just kidding. You might find it fun. You may not. I get it. It's not for everybody, but this is what I'm going to talk about today. And a few weeks ago, I mentioned something very interesting that Phil Jackson had an idea about, and it was his 40-20 rule. Now, this rule talks about if you catch 40 wins before you hit 20 losses, well, Jackson thought that was a pretty good indicator of how good your team is, how elite it can be, how far it could go into the playoffs. And looking at the four teams left in this year's NBA West Conference Final and East Conference Final, this is an interesting indicator because two of them, the Mavericks and the Pacers did not hit that metric. They didn't hit the 40-20 mark. In fact, the Mavs hit their 20th loss in late January, and the Pacers hit their 20th loss also towards the end of January. They were nowhere near 40 wins. In fact, they had more losses accumulated than they should have at that point. But yet here we are. Now, I mentioned this 40-20 rule again because, yes, the Pacers and the Mavericks missed that 40-20 mark. But both the Pacers and the Mavericks have found themselves in the conference finals in the East and the West. I find that interesting that they've made it all the way into the finals because they found a way to turn it on. Now, in the Pacers' case, they might have found a way to just get past a really banged-up Knicks team. But the Mavericks, I am completely shocked at how well Luka and Kyrie are playing. They shocked me because I picked the Clippers to get past them. And they definitely shocked Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I've said it many times before that defense will win you championships. Minnesota has that. Minnesota has a great defense and offense, as do the Celtics. The Pacers have a top-notch scoring offense in the NBA. Not necessarily the best defense. And the Mavericks, again, the Mavericks have showed their grit and determination in eliminating the Thunder. The Thunder, a team that had one of the top offenses and defenses during the NBA regular season. And they got sent home by the Mavericks. And a few weeks ago, I had made that bad pick. Yes, I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. I made the bad pick. I took the Clippers. I thought the Clippers veterans would get it done. Not even close. Not only have the Mavericks surprised me, yes, they surprised the Clippers, and most recently they surprised the Thunder. My question is, will that surprise magic help them with the Timberwolves? And my next question, how did the Timberwolves get here? How did they get to this level? Okay, let's take a look. It started with Tim Connelly back in May of 2022 when the Timberwolves hired Tim away from the Nuggets. Yes, Tim was instrumental in building that Nuggets championship team, including directing the team and the Nuggets front office to draft Nikola Jokic in 2014. 2 years later, he made sure they drafted Jamal Murray. Later on, he also made sure in 2021 to bring in trades like Aaron Gordon, JaVale McGee. I could mention a lot of other names, but what I'm trying to get at is Tim Connelly was the driving force behind all of this. I know there was a lot of other moving parts, but what I'm trying to paint the picture of is that Tim Connelly was the mastermind that assembled it all. He's no longer with the Nuggets. Yes, he assembled that championship Nuggets team. And now Now, he is the mastermind in running the show behind the scenes in Minnesota. In the weeks after Kennelly was hired, he orchestrated a massive 5-draft pick, 5-player swap for 4-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert was brought in by Mike Kennelly. He also brought in Mike Conley. Conley and Gobert played with Utah. They played together in Utah for a few seasons and are now an amazing addition for the Timberwolves. Now add in Chris Finch's game planning. On top of the offense, on top of that defense, his game planning with all the play from the bench, from the starters, all those have combined to help dethrone that Nuggets team and move on in the playoffs. I truly feel it was Tim's doing to help do this. He flipped the script. He did it in Denver. Now he's doing it in Minnesota. And I've asked so many times before about why teams don't press the Nuggets, especially as their 7-foot center dribbles up the court. Now, I doubt Chris Finch heard my questions. I doubt it. He could have, but I doubt it. Because apparently he asked the same question. And he started pressing the Nuggets. By doing so, this frustrated the Nuggets to no end. This frustrated the Nuggets so much, it was a breaking point. Why do I say breaking point? Well, Jamal Murray threw things on the court that caused him to get a $100,000 fine. But also, it's so tough to repeat. I mean, it's tough to repeat as champions. I will repeat that. It is so very, very, very tough to repeat as champions. Especially when the guy who built your team to make you a champion is now building the team that just beat you. I mean, that's tough. He knows the blueprint that he made in Denver, and now he just did that same thing in Minnesota. That's why it's so tough to repeat. In the last 50 years, let's take a quick history lesson, shall we? In the last 50 years, the Lakers did it in 87, 88. They had the help of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson. Also, the rest of that team was stacked. They were amazing. The Pistons did it in 89 and 90. They also had a stacked team. Lambeer, Rodman, Isaiah Thomas, and Dumars. And the rest of their bench was amazing. Yeah, Bulls fans, I'm getting there. Settle down. We all know Jordan and company did it for 3 straight years with a stacked roster. An amazing roster. And also an amazing coach, Phil Jackson. He helped guide their dynasty in 91, 92, and 93. But the Houston Rockets came along, and they did it in 94 and 95 with Akeem Olajuwon. Yes, Bulls fans, we know. The Bulls did it again in 96, 97, and 98. All right? After that three-peat, the Lakers assembled an amazing team. And guess who was their coach? Just take a guess. Oh, yeah, good guess, Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson helped the Lakers take 3 in a row from 2000, 2001, into 2002. Later, they added a few more very talented players, and the Lakers repeated as champs again in 2009 and 2010. Of course, we have to mention the Miami Heat. They had back-to-back championship seasons as well. This happened in 2012 and 2013. Wade, Bosh, James, and the rest of their lineup was amazing. Shortly thereafter, an amazing lineup with a Steve Kerr-coached Golden State Warriors team won back-to-back championships in 2017 and 2018. Why the history lesson? I just find it fun to look at these stacked teams. I look at who coached them, who played, And when you look at what they did and how they did it in so many consecutive years, like who outcoached who kept winning. And you look at that, especially now in an era of player-free agency, or in the case of players like James Harden who just refuse to go through the rest of their contract and demand trades before they're anywhere near free agency. It's tough. It's very tough. Now, my next question. Can any of the remaining teams repeat as champions? Can any of the teams that exited early this year come back next year, win, and then repeat? It is extremely tough to do this, but not impossible. Our little history lesson just proved that. But I am guessing with the talent that is scattered in the West. Yeah, the West, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Mavericks, and the talent that is in the East with the Knicks. If they can stay healthy, that team is dangerous. All those players that played together in college assembled on the same team with some of the most dangerous players around, if they stay healthy, wow. And if the Pacers, if they play more defense and keep outscoring everyone, wow. But also if the Celtics can keep its core together. I don't know if they can. That's a lot of people to play a lot of money. The other side of the Celtics is, can they keep Porzingis healthy? You may not see back-to-back champions. Or with all those teams I mentioned, and they get a coach that can figure it out like Phil Jackson, maybe they will. Now, the Celtics start their series with the Pacers tonight. They're favored by 10.5. I think that's a stretch. I think 10.5 is a stretch. I feel the Pacers are really, really on track. They're feeling it, and it's going to be a challenge. I feel the Pacers keep it close. They take this series to 6 games. But if White, Tatum, and Brown are all red hot behind the three-point line, forget what I said, Pacers get swept. Conversely, if the Pacers dictate the pace and run and gun, and their shooters get hot. If the Pacers shooters get hot. That's tough. As well as Siakam and Miles Turner, if they can out-rebound and out-bully the Celtics, forget it. Forget it. We could see a Celtics team that just is frustrated like the Nuggets were, and, well, they're showing the exit door as well. I feel too many times this year the Celtics have been sloppy and have dwindled too many double-digit leads. I feel they also haven't shown enough grit, but yet other times they look unbeatable. So who shows up? Yeah, as a Celtics fan, sure. I want the Celtics to win, but also I'm the weirdo that will cheer for great basketball when a great team is playing against my team. It frustrates people, I get it, but this Pacers team puts on a great, fast, fun show. Now, the Timberwolves start their series in Minneapolis on Wednesday versus the Mavericks. I truly have no clue. I'm not sure who will outcoach who will outplay who. But I do know that both teams have very talented and gritty veteran players. And those players and some of their fast, fun, younger players are going to make for an amazing, fun series. I'm honestly torn at who could win. For a few seconds, I lean towards the Timberwolves and see what they've done against the Nuggets. But the Mavericks' grit and pure determination to win have shocked me. They've shocked me for 2 straight series. In summary, I don't know. I just can't wait for great games to watch. Some fun highlights from all these games in these series. And maybe we get a repeat champion next year. Who's to say? With my final thoughts, I hope you caught some highlights of that Usyk Fury fight. I'm switching gears here to boxing for just a little bit. I found Fury's fight against the MMA fighter, Ngannou, fun to watch because I said it before, he was so out of shape. And I honestly don't know how he escaped without getting floored to the deck again. That Tyson Fury and Usyk fight was fun to watch. It went the distance. It had it all. Tyson hurt Usyk in the 7th, and I thought it looked like Tyson might have even helped keep him up for a while. Looking at the whole fight and looking back at it, had Tyson come in better shape, I don't think his cardio was there. He's still flabby. He always has been. Well, I should say he always has been since he's come back after that 2-year layoff where who knows what he did. Had he been in better shape and had he commanded more respect of Usyk, had he not showboated by putting his hands behind his back and at times he put his hands over his head, stuck his tongue out, rather than keeping the foot on the pedal and dictating the pace, he didn't. He sat back and then he let Usyk come to him. And I'm surprised Usyk didn't get a full knockout. Fury got saved by the bell. He got saved by the ropes, and he's lucky. He didn't win, but he's lucky he didn't get a full knockout. That being said, I can't wait for that rematch. I can't wait for more sports. That said, thanks for listening. Go watch some sports.